Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our weekly Essential Education live stream. My name's Jen. I'm the student success coach here at Essential Ed, and I love these times of connection. If it's your first time joining us, go ahead and type newbie in your chat. Let us know that you are joining us in your debut form. This is the first time you have logged on to this live stream. If you've been with us a few times, then maybe you can say regular there in the chat and letting us know that you are a regular attender. And if you've been here from the very beginning, you've attended all of the live streams, you never miss one, then just put expert there in the chat. And also let us know where you're joining us from. We know that we have students all over the world, and we are excited to connect with you today. Our topic for a brief discussion is a math vocab refresh. Yes, you heard me correctly, a math vocab refresh. When you are getting ready for the GED or the HiSET, yes, you are going to be learning and relearning, refreshing those basic math computation skills, but you also need a vocab refresh, the words associated with math. And some of you are saying, look, Jen, the numbers in math are about all I can handle. Don't tell me I'm going to throw words in the midst of that too. Don't get overwhelmed. Just know that the math vocabulary is also going back to basics. And it's important to have this math vocab refresh, we'll call it, because the test makers will use certain mathematical words and terms in test directions, in introductions, in test questions, and in those all-important word problems. And you won't just encounter these terms in math, you're also going to encounter them in science. So preparation in this math terminology, this math vocabulary, as we sometimes refer to it, reading from a math mindset, yes, will help you better prepare for the mathematics reasoning section. And it will then help you prepare for the science section. Because remember, science is this beautiful marriage of observation skills and dun, 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 math skills. So a preparation in math vocab is a preparation for not just one subject, but two subjects. So what words are we talking about? What vocabulary are we talking about? Well, let's first talk about test terms. What do I mean by that? When you see the breakdown of these math exams and you see things like numbers and operations, geometry, algebra, and data analysis, what exactly does that mean? Well, let's break down each one. The numbers and operations section of the math exam is going to be just that, basic numbers and the four major operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And it's in this section with numbers and operations that you'll also encounter decimals, exponents, and the well-loved fraction section. So if you need a refresher on any of those things, of course, that's something that we can help you with here by becoming an enrolled student at Essential Education, and something that we talk about on these live streams and our live coaching sessions absolutely for free. And we encourage you to check out those offerings. We'll put some links down there in the chat at the conclusion of our time together. So when the test makers say numbers and operations, that's what they're talking about. And then you have geometry. You may remember it from back in the day as that thing with the shapes. And yes, you are correct. It would be that thing with the shapes. And you are going to be asked to, again, have this combination of working with two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes and applying mathematical concepts. That will involve some work with some formulas. Do you have to memorize those formulas? Absolutely not. The test makers will provide you a formula sheet. More on that in a little bit. Then we talk about basic algebra. And that's where someone says, well, that's that thing with the letters, where the letters and the numbers come together. Those letters that take the place of unknown numbers, and they are referred to as variables. So all of those algebraic terms, do you feel it coming back? Variables, do you feel all of that language kind of coming back? Get yourself a refresher, because the test makers won't stop and take the time to explain it in the context of the test. They're just going to expect that you know that type of mathematical lingo. And then when it comes to data analysis, Sounds big, sounds scary. Absolutely not. Data analysis on these exams is nothing more than looking at visual data. Just like in the reading section, you'll read passages and then answer questions about those passages. Data analysis is looking at data or information not in a text form, not in a passage form, but in a graphical form, in a table or a chart or a map. And you are able to then pull information out of that, maybe compare it. Maybe look at increases over time or decreases over time, changes and fluctuations, patterns, those sorts of things. So that's what falls into that data analysis category. So first, get a refresh on those terms of what you can expect on the test. Numbers and operations, basic geometry, basic algebra, and visual data analysis. And then when you dig in a little bit deeper and you start getting into the individual sub lessons or the individual little pieces of those larger topics, then you're going to start to see things like this, terms that we see in fractions. If you have been able to join us for some of the many math-based coaching sessions that we have focused on here this month together, then these are terms that you have heard me use a lot. When it comes to working with fractions, I find that most people just need a refresher. They have not seen fractions since maybe late elementary school, early middle school, and you just need that refresher. And that means not only knowing how to manipulate the numbers, but remembering what some of these terms are. Test makers will automatically expect you to simplify or reduce your fractions. So get familiar with what that means and what that process is. Doing so will make you find the greatest common factor of that shared numerator, the number at the top, and denominator, the number at the bottom. Finding that greatest common factor is then what allows you to reduce and simplify. And also refresh your mind about least common denominator. That's what's going to allow you to move in and have equivalent fractions when you're multiplying and dividing fractions. So go back as you're doing these numerical refreshers and also get a vocab refresher, because the test makers will just expect that you kind of already know some of this language. So do yourself a favor and get out back in the recesses of your mind and get a refresher on some of these things. And if you need help, that's something we can help you with here at Essential Ed. It's also going to be helpful for you to refresh your memory of simple measurement terms. When you're working with those shapes in geometry and you're using those formulas, you might be asked to find the area of a shape, the measurement around the outside of the shape. You might be asked to find the perimeter or the areas that enclosed information in the shape. The perimeter would be that measurement around the outside of the shape. You might be asked to find the circumference of a circle, the measurement around that circle. You might be asked to find the diameter. If you drew a straight line across that circle, the radius, half of that diameter. And then if you're working with 3D, whether you're working with cylinders or cubes or prisms, then you might be asked to find the volume, again, that inside measurement. So get used to those measurement terms, get used to seeing them in your formulas, get used to those formula terms and those formula abbreviations. That formula sheet is there for you as a tool, as a resource. It is something the test makers give you to help you out. So make sure that you make that the biggest help you possibly can by refreshing your mind on what some of those individual formulas stand for. For instance, when it says the area of a square, it's going to give you A equals S squared. It's not going to tell you that A stands for area or that S stands for side. Those are things that you'll need to practice in your preparation so that then you can just use that kind of as a memory jog on test day. When you get that formula sheet, then you can say, oh, I remember this. The big A stands for area. That little S stands for side when finding the area of a square. So get used to those formula terms and abbreviations. Don't let it be a surprise come test day. Practice them beforehand. Practice using them and make sure to quiz yourself that you know what all those little abbreviations stand for. And then you'll want to bulk up your understanding of data-based terms. Again, this is where we're working with those graphs and those charts and those tables. And the test makers will use these big three terms. and maybe even a fourth I'll throw in there. They're going to use terms like median, mean, and mode. Don't know what those are? Go back and get a refresher. We've got a great coaching session called What to Expect When Testing in Math, where we talk about bulking up your math vocabulary, and we go into a deeper explanation and give some examples of those three database terms, in addition to a big fourth, the range of data. So familiarize yourself again with mean, median, mode, and range. Those are very, very common database terms that you may see in math, and then you may see repeated in the science section anytime you're working with visual data. You could even see it in the social studies section. The social studies testers like to throw some graphs and charts there into some historical data from time to time. So you might even get to use these database terms in social studies as well. So if you're saying, okay, Jen, this is all great information. I know my major areas of the exam. I know that I need to bulk up my memory of my fraction-based understanding, my measurement-based understanding, my data-based understanding. How do I do all of that? With test-aligned prep and study resources. And that's what we are in the business of doing here at Essential Education. We are proudly partnered with hundreds of thousands of students and teachers all over the world to help students take down these exams, to get only the information that they need, not overwhelm themselves with too much information, but get the information that they need to pass these tests. They are test-targeted preparation resources, because why study everything about science? Or why study everything that goes into mathematics? Why study everything that goes into social studies when you can target your study to what the test makers expect you to know? And that's what we want to help you do here. If you'd like to learn more about our program, you can check it out at essentialed.com/students. We've got a lot of information there on our website. We've even got some free study guides. If you want to see a little bit more than just math, you want to see kind of some of those expectations and some of the other test areas, you can check that out as well. And you can also give us a call. We have a team of student advisors available at 1-800-460-8150, and they are there to assist you. We have this tagline that we like to use that says, "You can do this, we can help." And we are firmly committed to both of those things. We believe in you. We believe in your ability to do this. I have so many students say, especially when you're talking about math, Jen, I just can't do this. I can't remember all of that stuff. I can't do it. And I want to give them a great big virtual hug and say, yes, you can. It's just a matter of going back and reminding yourself about some of these things. Grant yourself some grace. Depending on how long you've been out of that traditional classroom environment, some things may have been lost. It doesn't mean they're not gone. It doesn't mean that they're gone. They're just lost. They're still there in your brain somewhere. So it's just a matter of going back, recapturing, strengthening these things, filling in only the learning gaps that you need to fill in so that you can find personal success. And we know that we can help because we've been in the business for a long time of connecting you to the resources that you need to succeed. Thanks for joining us today. We hope this short little information session was helpful. Go back, refresh your mind about all of those terms and all of those processes. You'll be so glad that you did. You'll gain confidence. You'll know exactly what the test makers are asking you to do. And you'll be armed not only with the mathematical number skills, but the math vocab skills to go along with that. Thanks so much and have a great day.